Her journey to motherhood rocked her. And then God gifted her her beautiful daughter. And she was one and done. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But what that journey came with many opinions, and she found that she wasn't alone. So here's what she did with it. I have today my guest, Sofya Stearns, the founder of Izabella's Gourmet Chow. And I am your host, Marta Saray Greca, best-selling author, award-winning entrepreneur. And we are here today because of our sponsor, all thanks to Black Oswald Coffee Co. Black Oswald Coffee Company is the coffee company that is not only delicious, but with every ounce that you drink, you are benefiting those undergoing mental health journeys. And you can partner with blackoswaldcoffeeco.com to start your own fundraiser to benefit organizations that support those with mental health journeys. So, Sofya, I am going to let you just get to it and tell your story and where that story led. I've heard it before. It brought me to tears. So I'm grateful for you to be here and share it with the viewers and the listeners.
Thank you, Marta, for having me on your podcast. I love listening to your podcast. It's all very educational, and I know it's well received by our community and everyone who I speak to. So the book is called The One and Only, By Faith or by Choice. And Marta was in one of the readings, actually book signings. And you're right, it did bring you to tears and a lot of other mothers. Mm-hmm. The reason I wrote this book is because I always wanted to have children. My ideal goal was to have 3 or 4 kids. And I had no idea that I'm actually going to have so many issues having one. It took me years and years to conceive this child. Prior to that, I had miscarriages, I had DNCs, I had ectopic pregnancies. And finally had my precious child, Izabella. And I was on top of the moon. I was thrilled to have her. I was 42 when I had her. I was blessed that I didn't have any medical conditions developed during the pregnancy. And then when she was 6 months old, I met a great group of ladies, and they became my rock. Shortly after, to my big surprise, people started asking me, when am I going to have a second one? And I said, unfortunately or fortunately, I'm just having Izabella. And this is where it all started. People started accusing me that I'm selfish for having one child. Women or people would say, at the same time, they'll say, I'm blessed to have only one, because I have no idea how it is to actually spend so much money on activities or Halloween costumes. And I'm blessed because, and it's so easy for me to just have dinner for me and my husband and my little one. Or then they had no idea why I only had one. Then women would say, or people would say, you're selfish because God forbid something happens to Izabella, she won't have any organs from her sibling.
When I heard that, that's bizarre. That's the craziest
thing bizarre beyond
could ever say. That's insane.
And then people would say, if you lose Izabella, you're going to be childless. And that, and I'm not going to tear up now, but it's brutal when you hear those words, because it took me forever to have Izabella. And why would somebody even come out and say this? And I would just smile, and without using a foul language inside of my head, I would just walk away from that person. Mm-hmm. But what really shocked me is that in this process where I interviewed 41 families, same-sex couples, and basically 41 families, I was shocked to hear that 99% of those families heard the same thing. Mm-hmm. People would call them selfish. People would say that you are denying your child to have a best friend next to him or her. And it crushed those families. No one really knows why a family has one child. But again, people are just love to judge. You have 7 kids and people are probably judging you and saying,
all the time.
Absolutely. Don't you know there is a TV or there is a book, right, or go on vacation? Isn't there anything?
How babies are made?
Yeah, exactly. The same thing, either you have one, you're always condemned, right? You're always them. Either you have one or you have seven. And what I have learned is that it's not really you who has issues having one or seven. It's on those people
Mhm.
who just are miserable and they envy. And I think they're just jealous.
Well, and I don't know that it's either it's even envy or jealousy. It is about them because it's their beliefs, it's their morals, it's their values, it's their story, it's what they grew up with, it's what was said to them. It's all in their programming. So when somebody has such a reaction to you, it has nothing to do with you. And I have a dear friend who listens to the show, and someone very close to her that she loves dearly and I held high respect for, actually, for a period of time, we resolved it, had an adverse reaction to me as a person, as an individual, and perceived me as having lack of judgment or social responsibility because I chose to have 7 kids, and I'd love to have more. I don't know if I will be able to because the last pregnancy was so difficult. No, not the pregnancy, the delivery was it was medically traumatic, and he was in danger and I was in danger, and having 6 kids at home, that was traumatic for them. So I don't know if I'll be able to have that, but it's my choice, right?
Absolutely.
What
And
it's
that's
all about.
why this is why we live in a free country, right? We actually are, and as women, it's really up to us. And it's not that as women, we are, as me and my spouse, or you and your spouse, or a woman and her significant other, really. It's really their decision
Mhm.
on how many kids they want to have and anything. Do you want it's the same thing, not even kids. Do you want to live in a small house or you want to live in a big house? Do you want to have 2 cars or you want to have 1 car? It's always
And
really up to us. It's really nobody's business. I always say don't judge the book by its cover, although I don't have to say my
yeah,
book needs
your
to
book
be.
cover is pretty
I
great.
love the cover.
Yeah.
So yes, please do judge my book by
Yeah.
its cover
But
because it
also
gives you
in
justice.
your case, it's you don't know what they've gone through to even get
No
to that
idea.
situation. And it isn't people's choices in some cases. I have very close friends of mine who I hope listen to the show and get to hear your story and pick up your book. One of which, same with you, miscarriages, stillbirths, and just trying through surgeries and everything to have yet another one. And if she can't, she can't at this point. She's gotten to that point. And I have another friend who she would love to have more, but her husband is just not on board. It's just not happening because of various other medical reasons as well. So um, I am learning from this episode talking to you. Sometimes people just say things offhandedly to fill space. And sometimes you don't need to say anything. You don't need to. I think that people try to say these things sometimes to make you feel better about having one. Oh, you have it easier. Oh, you probably don't have to worry about this, because they don't know what to say. And so we have to take that with a grain of salt. What are your thoughts on that?
So, it's reading the book. So the book is divided into lifestyle, IVF, and adoption.
Mm-hmm.
Lifestyle is basically 90% of those families um, did not want to have just one child. It just happened. And I did a lot of research, extensive research about what happens when you have one child with no issues. For example, to have a second child, your rates are going down by 17%. Everyone always thinks that once you have one child, you can have 2, 3, 4, 5 kids right after because your body is used to it. It's actually not true. I was actually surprised to that. And age does not matter. Obviously, when you're 45 and higher, even though they say 36, once you're 36 and up, your rates do go down to get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But even with the second child, the rates are going down by 17%. But, a lot of families said, we have a good income and we want to show this child the world. I know families in my book, they say by the time the child was 10, the kid has seen been to 10 countries.
Yeah.
And yes, they did try to have a second child and this one family, they had one child. She was 42. She had no issues getting pregnant. And then she had 7 IVF cycles and they all failed. However, during the third or fourth cycle, they found out she had ovarian cancer. So I think if it would not be for IVF, they would never catch her cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Same-sex couples, one gay couple, they decided to adopt a child, and they just could not afford to have a second one, just because it's very pricey, and then they wanted to have a nice lifestyle. Let's put it this way. And then the second gay couple, they said they used they used their sperm, but they had to use a egg donor, and it's a surrogate, so it's very expensive, and they wanted to have a nice lifestyle for that child.
Yeah, and then I have kind of the opposite with that scenario, and this is something that I have to speak out about because it's something that I preach. We had the opposite scenario where people were judgmental because we were having more, and when you looked at our societal standard with our first, with our second, even with our third, they would think you can't be affording to have any more children. You know, your husband doesn't work. You are making your own, you're a breadwinner, and you're taking these kids with you to work. And but with every child, we acquired more and more and more wealth. We had more, you know, it's like we took that step forward. We had the child. My husband doesn't necessarily like the way that I frame it because he's like, well, it's not like we're having babies to get wealthier. But what I found
You
was,
should, if you can, why not? And when
we had another child, it was like, okay, we've got to, but we're going to step it up. Or we never even thought about it, but it just so happened. And I look back and I'm like, oh, with this child, this happened. With this child, this happened. With this child, this happened. Now, the past 2 years were very difficult financially, very difficult. And it's why I'm a financial rep. But that's not to say that the future, is not to be fruitful, and it's already turning around. But so I like to debunk that myth that I completely honor and respect that decision, and it makes total sense, and it's completely accurate. I value it. Yes. But then there's also the opposite side of what I preach. It's like my whole platform that if you wanted to have more children, you God will provide for you. So absolutely. If you are in a situation where you're like, well, how am I going to pay for their college? God will provide for you. Maybe they won't even go.
You'll find a way. There's always financial aid. And then what I always say is that do not, in anything, it's not even now about the kids. If you want to do something, write a book, open your business, go for it. Otherwise, you will regret it.
Yes.
You will go once one day you're just going to sit on your couch and say, my gosh, why haven't I done it? I should have done it, because now I'm 85 and I don't have an option to do it.
Yeah.
So you cannot stop at something. You should stop and think, but also do not protect yourself too much. Don't think too much about it. If your heart is telling you go for it, go for it. If your heart tells you to slow down, slow down and just take a break, take a breather, and go at it again, or just change your fate. But you can't predict what will happen if you have another child, or you open a business, or you write a book. You cannot predict the future. If all of us could predict the future, I think it would be quite lovely.
Yeah, well, only God knows, right? Only God.
But we can't. I mean, nobody can predict the future. So if you feel like it needs to be done to have another child, or go for it.
Right.
And don't be stuck on the judgments you might hear. Don't be stuck on the people who might give you the dirty look. Like, who cares? It's your life.
Yeah.
Really, you're not hurting anyone by having another child. You're not hurting by doing anything else, anything for your family or for yourself.
Yeah. And if you fail epically, you start the business, you write the book, you get on stage because maybe you want to be a speaker or a comedian or an actor, and you bomb epically, at least you threw everything you could at it and have no regrets. There was a pivotal time with my marketing agency when, it skyrocketed in certain years, and then it started to dwindle down. And I threw everything I could at it to make it work. I threw everything I could at it to salvage that entity and to keep my team on as long as I could. I was acting as if, right? But sometimes it's just not meant to be. And now I know, well, look, I failed epically towards the end. I probably should have pulled the reins, cut some strings, but I threw everything I could at it. And now I know I tried everything I could.
Absolutely. You have no regrets. You have
Exactly.
no regrets. But
Exactly.
it's
And
okay.
it was meant to be complete because now I have this new entity. My brother and I partner on productions, content creation. I'm a financial rep. So it was meant to be complete. God wanted to shut that door. And now I know that God wanted to shut that door because
Failure is okay. We'll learn on mistakes.
right.
You cannot learn and go on without failing. It's
Yeah.
impossible. You know,
Yeah.
that every single person has failed in his life or her life.
Yeah.
It's that's what happens. And then you overcome this journey, and then you actually get out on a higher level. And
Yeah.
so now you know
And
what mistakes to make, not to make. You just live a
yeah,
life. That's
exactly.
exactly what it is.
I tell my clients, I don't come and help you from a place of I'm Miss Perfect. I come for you, not for you. I come alongside you. I don't come for you. It's actually quite the opposite. I'm very enabling. I'll have clients say, I just spent $2,000 on this luxury item. And I'm like, was it on sale? Well, then, if anything, you
It's
saved money.
Well, it's like pair of shoes,
Yeah.
and bag. It compliments you. It makes you hip.
Yeah.
It's all good. Was it on
Yeah.
sale? Sure.
Yeah, or even friends will come to me. They know that I'm the first person they can call if I just booked a trip. And I'm like, you know what? You're going to be in such high vibes. I guarantee that you're going to attract so much wealth while you're having the best time of your life.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, when you travel, you meet so much. Like even, traveling overboard. I don't have to tell you, you travel a lot. Overboard. You meet so many people and you get inspired by listening to other people, either on the plane. It's a long journey to get anywhere you go. So you meet so many people and people
Yes.
become like oblivious. They're like, oh my God, they're over there. So you're just talking to people and you learn a lot, and all my 41 people I interviewed in my book, they're not all from Pittsburgh because I'm not actually originally from Pittsburgh. I met a lot of families through my business. I'm blessed. But then I interviewed people from internationally, from California, like from all over. And this is where the point of view of having just one child, it's not just Pittsburgh,
Mm-hmm.
the lifestyle, it's actually just people from all over.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredible. And then I have the part where it's adoption. There's a lot of families who adopted kids from different countries.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear how they got there and how the scrutiny they had to go through to have that baby, it's unbelievable how many things can go wrong by adopting a child. It's because the mom can change her mind, or the grandmother now in charge of this baby and she wants to have her grandchild, or a father, even though he's a drug addict, but mom is in jail, but then the father is there, so the father has the rights. I mean, it's incredible how many things can go wrong.
Yeah. And I just want to segue real quick with those journeys. You sometimes need help with mental health support undergoing such
Absolutely.
difficult times. And so that's why I'm so grateful to have Black Oswald Coffee Company as a sponsor, because we talk about stories of hardships, trials and tribulations turned into passion and purpose here. And we couldn't do it without them. And just going back to those adoptive families, and you pray for the original parents as well, right? The birth parents who make that difficult decision of either keeping the baby or giving the baby up for adoption. Either decision is difficult, right? Either decision is selfless, and you're just doing your best that you can. So we pray for those families, and then we trust, right, in that adoption process. And it's difficult to do this, but that, okay, well, I guess that wasn't the baby meant for me, right? But it's in those moments, it's crushing. You can't even think that way, right?
And I also spoke with mothers who had to give up their first child,
Yeah.
just because I've met people, through my business. And I'm blessed, when I meet those people, you just realize, if I thought I had a bad day today, for example, but there's so many worse things can happen to you. And
I know.
those women, some of them had to give up a child because they were unwed, or they were too young, 16 or 17, and then they had a child after that, and it's extremely painful experience. And the worst part is they never forget about their first child.
Yeah.
The second child brings them joy and they love the child. However, the first baby it's always in their hearts.
Yeah, I've had guests on the show. One of which she was a teenager. She was she conceived in against her will in a violent way. So she gave the baby up for adoption because she didn't have the support of her family, and she pined after her baby. And for decades, finally found each other as the daughter became an adult, and now they live on the same property. She gets to be grandma to her grandchildren. And then I also had a guest a couple weeks ago. If you guys look back to the episode with Heather Cherry, who shared her story of she has one child, and you would never know what she went through. I've never asked. You don't know what somebody is
You
going
have
through.
no idea.
She was pregnant with her second. She decided that was it for her. So after having a C-section, she had her tubes tied for I don't know what the medical term is for that.
Mm-hmm.
Tubular ligation, and unfortunately the baby died 9 days later in the NICU, and you would never know that she went through this, because just like you, she's a light that shines bright in her community. She helps so many people. She's such a beautiful soul. So what I want to ask you, Sofya, is when somebody tells you, they have an only child, and people want to politely say such things that they don't know are like hitting them so hard, what would you recommend that somebody says? Nothing? Anything? Is there anything that somebody has ever said to you that you felt like that hit the spot? That was the right thing to say?
So I know one thing a person should never say to another woman is with one child to say, are you going to have a second one?
Yeah. Or a married couple, when are you having kids?
When are you having kids? And like I said in the beginning of my book, it's, it never stops. First thing when you're in school, you're like, oh my God, I want to find this guy. You find a guy and then you get engaged. And then the parents start saying, when are you going to get married? You get married. When are you going to have your first child? You have your first child. Then the first child is born. When you're going to have your second? It's just some questions just need to be shut down.
Yeah, or I get the question all the time: are you done? Are you done? Are you done? And most of the time, if you ask me right after I have a baby, yes, I'm done. But then a year goes by, and I'm like,
but you don't know if you're done. It's the same with anything else.
God knows, yeah.
You have no idea what can happen to you in 5 minutes. You have no idea what will happen to you tonight. You have no idea what will happen to you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And the only question I do, like I said, do not ask, are you done, or are you going to have a second one? Mm-hmm. What you could say, and so someone reached out to me 2 weeks ago, and through Facebook, and she said, I've been following you, and now I'm so excited about your book, is because one of her best friends finally was delivering in 4 days. Mm-hmm. She is in her 40s. I'm not going to say how old she is. So she's in her 40s. She had a child when she finally got pregnant when she was 40. Mm-hmm. And she miscarried the child week for 39 weeks and 1 day. Mm-hmm. And she was devastated. They finally got pregnant again through IVF. Mm-hmm. And she was delivering on Monday. And this woman, friend of hers, she got the book from me on Friday. The baby is born, is healthy, and thank God for that. But I hear so many stories. I mean, this story just completely, I shouldn't say, completely shattered my heart. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't stop thinking from Friday when I signed the book to this woman who was delivering on Monday. And I couldn't wait till Monday for her delivery. And thank God she did. So you could say, you have a beautiful child, and stop at that.
Yeah.
Don't ask. You can't ask questions. I also have someone who was, and I have no idea if she was at your book signing or not. It's all a blur. Too many women, too many people. But she lost her second child. Or actually, I'm sorry, she had a baby before this one. She just has one son at the 36 or 7 weeks of pregnancy. The room was all set. The crib, everything was set, and she lost the baby. And she was able to conceive with the second child, thank God. But that was it. she knew that this child will be the last one. So to hear, are you done? You know, maybe she thought she would be done with the first child, but then she never actually met the child. So I don't think there's ever a good question.
Yeah,
The
you're right.
same thing when you lose a spouse, and people say, do you think you'll ever get married again? Well, guess what? You have no idea.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a tough one.
There's so many
Well,
things can get, go wrong. So I think it's just a hug. And I'll give you a good example. I had a class yesterday. I work with Passamon Hospital Foundation, Bridge to Hope, and they are families who have addicts in their families. And we cook together and we laugh, and they all love working with me, and then I just give them hugs. But I know, as fun as it is to be with me and laugh with me, it's getting into a car, driving home, and knowing that what's waiting for them.
yeah.
It's so I think a hug and not to ask extra questions, I think, would be a legit answer.
Right. And to be honest, I actually don't mind when people say, "Are you done?" I'm an open book, and I take it it doesn't offend me when people say, do you know what cable is? Do you know how babies are made? And I like to answer, yeah, I do. I enjoy it thoroughly. My
Nobody
husband
does cable anymore. It's YouTubing, by the way.
I just like to make them super uncomfortable and say, I do know how babies are made. I love making them with my husband. He is so handsome,
I just love entertaining myself. It's so good. Even though I only have one child, it's so good.
And to be honest, I love being pregnant. I love giving birth, not aside from the last time, because I'm a negative blood type. My husband is positive, and so what happens is if I don't have the ROGAM shot at the right time, my body can reject the baby. My antibodies, can reject the baby. So it's a miracle that we got to 6 kids without me ever having a miscarriage or anything. And then after that, I started to have miscarriage. And then once you have those miscarriages, it's hard. And then,
you need to have another one. You
yeah,
can stop.
it's tough. You can. Yeah. So so I did. And he's beautiful, but that was a very difficult, traumatic medical experience. And I actually wrote about that in this book, Powerful Synergy. But again, in my next book, Course Corrected, Heather Cherry's story will be there, speaking about, losing her son. And I can't help but make the comparison, which you really shouldn't, of my baby was in the NICU for 9 days and I nearly lost my mind. Can't imagine being in the NICU for 9 days and then not getting to take your baby home.
Yeah. Or delivering a stillborn and I'm not really sure how women go on with their lives. And I know families who lost their one and only and never had a child after. You have to be, I think, so strong to go on, because I guess you have parents left or your spouse, but I will never forget when Izabella was finally born and going through this leaving hell for so many years. I'll never forget this cry. But then I was like, oh my gosh, or she didn't cry for half a split second, because in the movies I've seen the babies cry right away. See, too many movies.
Me too.
And I was like, she's not crying. Why isn't she not? And a second of her not crying, I think it was like the longest second. And the doctor says she's fine. She's fine. They had to clean her up. And when they put her on my chest, it was just the most precious feeling. And I felt so blessed, and I felt so relieved that she's healthy and not. I had the easiest pregnancy. I wore stilettos up until the day before my delivery.
Yeah.
And miniskirts. I was wrecking my pregnancy. I'm like, hell, I've been waiting for this way too long. I'm gonna rock it. And I didn't have a big belly. And I'm like, no, I want to have a big belly. And I didn't have I didn't have a lot of cravings. I'm like, I want to have cravings.
Yeah.
But it is the most amazing feeling to have a child. And if you can have 7, 8, and God bless you with that. And if you only had one because it's your choice, by faith or by choice, God bless those women who only had one child, and
Right.
God bless those babies.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, this conversation really opened up my eyes of how to be more mindful of people's situations and how to speak in a way that is loving and not perceived as judgmental or
Judgmental.
questioning. And I know that I myself have in the past made so many self-deprecating jokes about the amount of babies that we've had, and just to make other people feel comfortable. And it's now I've learned, well, don't make those self-deprecating jokes about how easy it is for you to get pregnant or blah blah blah, because that's actually hurtful to somebody who is
So
can't
somebody
get
has issues, yes,
yeah, so
absolutely.
don't make those jokes. And so I've learned that myself. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for being here, Sofya. Again, show them your book.
Where's my book? Where's my book?
Yeah, and the sunlight is just, I know you're like, I've had that same situation with this sun too. So
Is their son? Thank God, right? Finally. Oh, good.
oh my gosh, if you could see my view right now. All right, so the one and only on Amazon.
Yes.
On Amazon. Get your book now. I'm Marta Saray Greca. I am your host. I'm a best-selling author. I'll show you my books, Powerful Synergy and the Minimalist Method. And then out on September 4th, we'll have our book launch party for Course Corrected, another anthology of over 15 women who went through something really difficult and transformed that into their passion and purpose, just like this show is about. And I am a financial rep. I love to help families account for every dollar, how to grow it, how to protect it, and how to make more confident money decisions. And I'm also the owner of Whole Truth Communications, who is the producer of this show. And let's not forget our sponsor, Black Oswald Coffee Company. Go to blackoswaldcoffeeco.com. Use the code using all caps, awesome15 for a special discount. And if you can buy your coffee, you can buy any blend that you see there. But also, if you have a nonprofit that you believe in that helps those with mental health journeys, by all means, partner with blackoswaldcoffeeco.com, and they'll help you set up your own fundraiser through their website. And that's all, folks. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Sofya, for coming. If you love the show, do not forget, hit subscribe on the platform that you listen. If you're watching it on somewhere else, go over to your favorite podcast platform, hit subscribe, give us a 5-star review. That helps us get the word out of these stories that are inspiring and helping those who are undergoing difficult situations to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
There's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Yes. Truly.
All right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thanks.
Bye.